Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm here to talk about diabetes, and you know that diabetes is a very popular disease. A lot of people are wondering, like, what's diabetes anyway? So diabetes is it's a chronic condition, and it occurs when the body does not produce enough insulin, and you know the insulin is produced by the pancreas, which is always in the middle of our body, and also it does produce the insulin, but our body is not using it effectively. So the one that if your pancreas is not producing insulin, that's when it's a type 1 diabetes. That's why a lot of the type 1 diabetes is mostly the younger people, and then they need insulin for the whole life. For type 2 is that the one that your body produces insulin, but it's not used properly. So if you can see in this picture, this is the pancreas. So the insulin is responsible for turning your food. Whatever we eat, it's going to be the insulin that's produced in the pancreas is the one responsible to convert your food into energy. So it goes to the bloodstream, and that's when we can have energy. But in type 2, the insulin is produced, but it's not used properly. That's why a lot of the sugar is left on the blood. That's why every time you test your sugar, your blood, your sugar is high, and that's what the type 2 is, right? And how do you usually diagnose diabetes? It's only by making sure you go to the doctor and they do a blood test. You can do like a fasting. They can do the A1C, which is the glycated hemoglobin blood test, or the oral glucose test tolerance. I don't think they're doing this oral test tolerance anymore, except when you're pregnant. Usually in gestational diabetes, that's the other way of testing whether you have gestational diabetes. So there's a type 1, there's a type 2, and there's gestational diabetes. So those are the types of diabetes right now. At least 10% of the population has the type 1. 80 to 90% of the population who has diabetes has type 2. So what are the symptoms of having diabetes? So a lot of people are wondering, like, I don't feel anything, but mostly the most common one, you have like fatigue, you have tingling sensation in your fingers, yeah, or your foot, and then sometimes when you get hurt or there's a wound, it's not healing properly. Takes longer than the regular people that get cut. You usually heal the following day or the next day, but this one, you're diabetic, takes longer or heal even if you put like antibiotics on it. And then other people, they lose a lot of weight, and that's another sign, right? As I mentioned, there's at least 3.8 million Canadians who has diabetes. It's been diagnosed with diabetes. Worldwide is around 206 million worldwide has diabetes. So imagine it's going to be more of an epidemic coming soon. Probably another 10 or 20 years, it's going to be considered an epidemic disease worldwide. So basically it's coming as 1 in 10 Canadian has diabetes, and that is the diagnosed diabetes. But they find another 10% who are considered pre-diabetes. When you say pre-diabetes, their numbers are just slightly below, because you know when they check diabetes, if you're diabetic, you're gonna have your sugar level as a 7 and above. But some of the pre-diabetes people their reading is between 6 and 6.5. And the only way you can do that is by doing an A1C test. Okay? This one is the one that you do. We have that in the back that you can do it anytime. Usually we recommend doing it every morning. That's when you do those glucometer. But the A1C is another one that we need to do every 3 months. Okay? So I know some people here that who are diabetics, and I know some are pre-diabetic probably because of your age, and probably also a family history of diabetes. And also ethnicity is also another factor. That's why a lot of African descent, Southeast Asian, East Asian like us, the Filipinos, are really predominantly having high sugar most of the time. And because also of the food we eat, because we like, Filipinos love rice. And rice is converted right away to sugar, and a lot of Filipinos are pretty much diabetics. Same thing with our neighboring Indian community. So, as I mentioned about the pre-diabetics, a lot of people are on that range, especially from people who are more than 50 years old. They could say family history. Your chances of having also diabetes is like my dad is diabetic, my grandmother is diabetic, so turn out I'm also a diabetic, so I take medication for myself. So they're saying that right now it's 6.3% are pre-diabetes, but as that is from 2007 to 2019, but as of 2023 it's already 10%. So those pre-diabetics whose numbers are between 6 to 6.5, in another 5 years, that they will be considered diabetics already. That's why it's very important that you really have to watch what you're eating and always get it checked every time. A lot of people here, maybe they haven't been to the doctor for more than a year or never had a blood test. And that's why it's very important that at least have your blood test done at least once a year to check, okay? So what I'm going to talk about more is the ABCs, A, B, C, D, E, and S of diabetes. So as I mentioned, the first one is make sure you do an A1C target, and it has to be below 7%. Now A1C is you only can do it through a blood test, and it's done usually for diabetics. Has to be done at least every 3 months. If you're not diabetic, I would even recommend just doing at least once a year. Now, A1C now is very easy. If you're afraid to go to the doctor or you don't want to visit, most of the Shoppers Drug Mart, if you do book online, they will do it for you. So any Shoppers Drug Mart that you're near you, you can book for an A1C. You can do it online, or you can just call them. I have my A1C checked, and they will tell you what day or who's up, because it's a matter of who's available in the pharmacy that can do it for you. I just did mine yesterday, and they will do it to you within. You'll find the result. Because if you go to the doctor, they're gonna do a blood test. You have to book an appointment, and they will gonna take a blood here. But the one in Shoppers, they will just prick your finger, okay? And it takes 5-10 minutes, you get the result right away. So if you have a chance, I would book it. If you're not sure what's your A1C number, especially if you're pre-diabetic, it could be considered as pre-diabetic because of your age. There's a lot of, if you're age 50 and above, there's always a chances of you developing diabetes as you go older, okay? So that's important, the A1C. So get it checked. Just at least have an idea of what's your number. And if you do go to your doctor and you see, and you did the blood test, make sure you remember the number, because that's a lot of people don't even ask. They will, but most of the doctors will say, "Oh, you're good. Your number is good." Always good. I'll always ask for the number, so at least you have an idea of what's going on, what's a number that you have to make sure it's lower, right? So 7 is the magic number on it. Next one is blood pressure. BP is, make sure your blood pressure is below 130/80. Okay? When you get older, then sometimes you can be up to 140, is still okay. And the lower number, the 80, you can even go up to 90. But as long as below 90, then you're doing okay. Okay? Later, you can even have Meg and I can do your blood pressure to check. So the C is the cholesterol. The target for the cholesterol, usually the total cholesterol is around 5.2. That's a number that you have to make sure it's below. Yeah, by the way, also if you're going to Shoppers for the test, might as well ask for the cholesterol test too, because they can do both your A1C and also your cholesterol test. And that LDL, it means it's the low density cholesterol. That means the lipid, low density lipid. That means it's the bad cholesterol. It has to be below 2. Okay? That's very important, because if you have a lot of bad cholesterol in your system, then that's not good. There's always the chance of you having a stroke, especially if your blood pressure goes too high too. They work side by side. And if you're diabetic, you're more prone to having high blood pressure and your cholesterol goes high too. That's why they recommend to make sure that you're always on the cholesterol pills. You have to be on Crestor, Lipitor, or Pravachol or Pravastatin. So those are the cholesterol medication. I also give you like a handouts on the canvas. So if you're not sure if you're a pre-diabetic or diabetic, there's just a question that you just need to answer. Okay? And at the end, it will tell you what's your point, whether you're lower risk of developing diabetes or you have a moderate risk or the high risk. Okay? So you just need to answer them if you have a chance. You can download it also, this one on the website. You just go to Diabetes Canada and look for CanRisk. Okay? If you want to share it to your family or friend, because especially if you know that you have a friend who knows he's always tired, always going to the washroom a lot, then there's a chance that they might be diabetics. Okay? So share this one to them, or if you want, you can answer it for yourself and then see whether you're lower risk or moderate risk or high risk. Okay? So this is very important that you can share it. I have more copies, then you can give it to anybody that you know, okay, or your relatives that you know. Now, letter D is for drugs. There's a lot of medication. I won't go further on this because it's up to your doctor. A lot of doctors now are giving, even if you're all on the pre-diabetes, let's say your numbers are like 6.4, 6.5, a lot of doctors are more aggressive now and say, okay, well, I have to start you on metformin or some medication right away, so it prevents you from getting worse. Okay? Because otherwise, if you keep on waiting and waiting, and then there's no change in your diet, or you're not doing any exercise there, so that pre-diabetes, you're gonna be, for sure, you're gonna be diabetic in a couple of months or years. Okay? That's why if you're more than 55 and have high risk and you have all the diabetes complication, then there's some certain drugs that they recommend. And then statins means for the cholesterol. For if you're 40 and above, they recommend right away a statin or cholesterol medication. ASA is an aspirin. They recommend it for people who has already had cardiac problem, like heart problem or blood pressure, high blood pressure, then they recommend making sure you take an aspirin a day. Okay? So one of the that will help lower your sugar is by exercising, and they recommend at least 150 minutes a week, or that's almost like 25 to 30 minutes of exercise a day. You can do it 2 or 3 times a week if you want, but you have to do a bit more, like 30 to 45 minutes. You're gonna do it 3 times a week. So the best way of exercising is like walking is the best one. I know it's hard when it's winter, you can go out. A lot of people, I remember before we always go to the mall in the early morning and go walk around the mall, at least doing 10,000 steps. We did that. I remember we went to Bramley City Center, go around its corner of the mall, go to the second floor and go around again, and we did that 10,000 steps, 6 to 10,000 steps, which is good. And that's all you need. You can do that. If you can do it 2 or 3 times a week, then you're good. Now, I usually do it myself. I know my wife was at home. What I do, I'll just jog on plates like this, right? And I know right now it's good to have an Apple Watch because you can measure your how many minutes of exercise do you do, right? This is very important now. I don't take it off. I always wear it every time because it measures your calories that you burn and then your exercise, and then you can also do how long you've been standing because it measures your 12 hours of standing. You have to beat all those ring that they call to finish it every day. Okay, and so far I've been doing it for almost 6 months now. So my cholesterol has been very good. From my result from yesterday, my cholesterol is really good. My sugar has come down now. So it's very important. I just realize that really exercise is a good way of controlling your sugar and also keeping your body healthy. It also helps your heart to work properly. Okay, so I do recommend that at least 30 minutes a day. It has to be like just brisk walking or walk around the house. That's what I do. It's just my wife would see me walking around from the kitchen going to the or even just going up and down in your stairs. That's a good exercise already. Okay, as long as your knee can still do it, that will help. Okay. Now, some of the S is for screening. So we do recommend, if you're diabetic, to have your ECG every 3 or every 5 years. When you're diabetic, food is very important too, because when you're diabetic, the circulation going to your feet is less, and then your nerve endings become less sensitive. So sometimes you already step on a thumbtacks or a nail, you won't even feel it, and that's a problem. Okay, that's why they recommend doing a foot test once in a while. Some doctor, especially if they know you're diabetic, they're gonna try to pinch your end of your toes to see if you feel something. Okay, because otherwise that means circulation there is not good anymore if you don't feel anything. And then kidney, that's another one, that's the number one that's affected by diabetes. Your kidney, that's why a lot of diabetics, so it's not well controlled. The kidney is not functioning well, and then you heard a lot of people are going for dialysis. And dialysis is a not fun thing because you have to be in the hospital 3 times a week or even more, and then you have to be staying there for 2 hours. You're gonna be hooked up in a machine, and you're gonna be staying there for 2 hours or even sometimes 3 hours. But lately now there's some that you can bring home, like a portable one that you can do it at home. But imagine you go into the hospital, paying for your parking, and then stay there for 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours. So it's not a good thing, right? And then, so that's another one. And then one more thing for if you're diabetic, make sure that your eyes is going to be checked every year. And I know a private insurance, they only let you do an eye check every two years. But if you're diabetic, the government pays for it. As long as you know, you have to tell your eye doctor, oh, I'm diabetic, I'm taking metformin, I'm taking this medication for diabetes. They will allow you to do your eyes check every year. Because when you're diabetic, there's always a chances of you, the worst thing is you can get blind. I know my grandmother would get blind because of diabetes. So we recommend that you have to have your eyes checked every year. Very important. And smoking, especially if you're a smoker, it's always recommended to stop smoking because it does reduce the chances of you having a lung problem. Okay, so number S is self-management, is stress. So make sure a lot of reduce stress, because stress can also make your sugar high, and also your mental health is also responsible for it. Next one, please. So this is the one that we're gonna tackle more about taking a meal a day. This circle is a representative of your plate. So this is one plate. Half of your plate has to be vegetable. We also use another form of illustration is by using your hand. Okay? So if you can look on your paper here, sorry. You have your paper here. So on the top hand says 2 handfuls of vegetables. So that means both hands like this, that's how much vegetable you can eat. And we do recommend all fresh vegetable, like fresh green leafy vegetable like lettuce, cabbage, and then a lot of the carrots, tomatoes. So you can have this much of vegetable, or if it's your plate, half of the plate should be vegetable. Okay? And then a quarter of your plate is your protein. Okay? And if you see on the top hand, it's the size of your palm. Okay? I know, if I like my steak, I usually the whole plate. But when you're diabetic, the recommendation is supposed to be only a quarter of your plate. So that's your protein, your meat, your fish. Okay? And then the other quarter of your plate is carbohydrate. That's including the bread that we just ate, like toasted bread, some of them the milk, and also fruits. The fruits is, as you can see, it has to be like just a palm here like this, is much. Or if you're using this just a little smaller than your, that's how much fruit you can get. So we usually recommend that one small orange, one small banana, and one small apple. But when I say that, yes, it is different meal. Like say one banana in the morning, one orange at lunch, and then one apple at dinner. You can do that, okay? Or if you love grapes, don't make sure it's not more than your palm. I mean your fist. Because I remember my dad, he said, oh, if he loves grapes, he will probably eat the whole bowl of grapes. And you just, oh, my sugar went so high. I said, no, it's supposed to be small amount only. Now, for bread, it's a piece size of your potatoes, bread, pasta, or other. So like this much only. I know Filipinos, we do rice, at least half of the plate is rice, or even more than half of the plate is rice. So for diabetic, it's supposed to be only a quarter or this much only. If you like rice, they recommend as much brown rice. I know I don't like the taste of brown rice, but as long as you limit the amount of rice that you eat every day on your or quarter of your plate is good enough. Okay, and then the fats and oil, usually they recommend just a thumb size. I know we like butter, so make sure it's only this much of your thumb you use for butter. I know if you use like your toasted bread, you want to like spread it out so much. But usually that's the most recommended is just this thumb, okay? And fats and oil is usually they recommend olive oil is a good one. Canola oil, yeah. They're really good. And that, at least, even just the amount of oil is like your thumbnail. Okay, this much. Okay? So those are the ones that we recommend. Even if you have the milk too, they usually recommend just a small standard size of milk. Because a lot of people drink like full glass, like a tall glass. But if you're diabetic, they recommend just like a medium sized glass. Because remember, milk can be converted to sugar right away too. Okay? So if you limit the amount that you eat, then that's good. And also, as you can see, they also recommend at least 6 glasses of water a day. And if you can avoid all those regular soft drinks, juices, I know a lot of people like dessert. I know my wife, every time we have a party in our house, there's more dessert than the regular food. That's why most of my family, I think it's all diabetics now. But anyway, this is important. This is just a good reminder. As when you eat, I know when you go to a buffet or go to a cruise, when you go for a cruise, like you have so many plates with you. It's hard to control when you're on a vacation. But this is just a standard that you can, when you're at home, this is what you can think right away. Think of your plate, think of your hands as a measurement of how much food you're going to be using or eating. Okay? So that's another thing that's very important. Next, please. Okay, so these are just some steps on how to check your sugar. I know Megan and I can probably help you if you want. We can check your sugar later. This is just the standard. Usually we do recommend testing it usually before you eat. But now because we just ate, probably our sugar we're gonna be high. But at least if you're not diabetic, you really should be still normal. But if you're diabetic, then that's not good. For sure your sugar is gonna be high, but after 2 hours it's gonna go back to normal. So far we just ate like an hour ago, so our sugar might be still high. Okay? Is there any other question? Any question right now?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Like on the chocolate. So if you ate chocolate last night, you still affect your sugar.
Yeah.
It can.
Like now when I have to test it.
Yeah. If you're gonna test that, usually most of that has already been digested already in your system. But if you're diabetic, there are chances that your sugar might be still high. But if you're not diabetic, then that should be gone already. So, chocolate. If you love chocolate, I would go for like dark chocolate because dark chocolate is also good for your heart.
How much you could take?
Well, don't overeat because it's still sweet, right? Still have that sugar on it. But dark chocolate is good for you, especially if you get the one that's high in like 70% dark chocolate. It's even better. Okay, milk chocolate is really it's not good. it's so sweet. Okay. Any question?
So the number for the border, what number should that be?
Yeah. I know a lot of people say you're pre-diabetes or borderline. Usually it's like 6.4 or 6.5 and below. If your reading is between 6 to 6.5, then you're considered as pre-diabetes. So you need to really watch what you eat. You need to do exercise so that it prevents you from becoming true diabetics. Okay, so that's the one thing that you should be doing to prevent you from being diabetic. Because as I've mentioned, there's still 10% who are diagnosed with diabetes, and there's still another 10% who are pre-diabetes. And that's what we want to prevent you from being a diabetic, is by doing all these ABC, get your A1C check your blood pressure, check your cholesterol, and then do the exercise that's necessary and watch what you eat. And that will help you to live longer. It's also good for your heart. It's gonna good for your sugar and for your well-being too.
So,
Okay?
considering you mentioned about diabetic one, is that correct? What are those, the one, because they start, you said there's a 2 and there's a 1.
Yeah.
What is that one considered?
Type 1 is that usually it's, as I mentioned, it's 10% of the diabetes population. It's a lot, usually it starts when they are even younger. Because some kids, when they tested, they find that their sugar is too high. That means their pancreas is no longer functioning. And the pancreas is the one that produces the insulin. And the insulin is, if your pancreas is no longer working, then that means your insulin is no longer produced. That's why all these type 1 people, they need to be on insulin every single day for the rest of their life.
So is there any prevention for those?
There's nothing much you can do that, because that's it's one of those that's non-preventable, that you can't prevent it anymore. Type 2 is preventable. As long as you watch what you eat, then you can probably prevent you from becoming diabetic. But if once you're the type 1, then you're going to be on insulin for the rest of your life. And
So when, like, supposing you're diagnosed of type 2 diabetes, is there any way, once you're taking already the medication, the insulin, because some reading, they said that once you have that and you're taking that medication, you cannot stop anymore because
if you're diabetic, there's a chances that you might be on that medication for a longer period of time. Unless you have really totally done change in your eating habits, change a lot of, like you do a lot of exercise, there's a chances that they can even reduce the amount of the medication that you're going to be on. But most of the time, once you're diabetic, you might be on medication for a long period of time. Because remember, it's the genetics that no matter what, it's going to be running on your blood, and also what you eat depends on what you eat too. So a lot of doctors have reduced the amount of medication that you'll be taking, as long as you maintain or you have that your level is really, really good. So some doctor will say, okay, let's take this out and see how you're doing. And they will try you for like 3 months or half a year and to see. And then I've seen some of my patients that I've seen in the pharmacy that they have reduced some of the medication that they take. Before they take like 4 or 5 diabetic medication, and now they reduce it like to 2. So that's always a possibility, as long as you doing everything. You're checking everything and you're doing really well. Yeah.
Just curious, why do they give so many type of medication? Like you're taking one medication for diabetes, and then why are you taking 4? Are those each of the pills giving you something? Like
Yeah,
you said?
because usually when you've been diagnosed as diabetic, they will start with just one first and see if that will control the the disease or control it. And you find that after, let's say, after 3 months and the test still high, they're gonna increase the maximum. Like the metformin, you will start you with 1 tablet once a day, and then they're gonna increase it to twice a day. And then if it's still not controlled, then they will gonna say, okay, the maximum you're gonna take 2 in the morning, 2 at night. And if the sugar is still high, then they will gonna add 1 more medication to control it. Usually they'll do 2, and then we'll watch you for the whole year. And then if it's still high, then they'll add another 3rd one. So because I've seen a lot of people, they're diabetic, but they still eat whatever they want, and they don't do exercise. They just watch TV all day, and that's it. So you don't expect miracle that we're gonna get better. But so they were gonna they'll add you 2 medication, and then another year they'll add more. So that's what happened. And I've seen that people are not really watching what they're eating, or they're not doing anything. So, but if you're reached to that certain that you have 3 or 4 medication, and then you've done everything, you're doing exercise, you're watching what you eat, then there's always chances that you can lower them, become 3, become 2, or you just become 1. That's a possibility. Yeah. Any other question? So all my recommendation is just do those ABC. As I mentioned, if you want to know, if you don't know your A1C, then just make an appointment. See your doctor, or even just go to Shoppers Drug Mart, and you'll find your result right away within 10 minutes. Okay?
You mentioned that A1C.
A1C.
Is that you mentioned about aspirin? Is that aspirin or something?
Aspirin is different. Only aspirin if you have you're diabetic and you're also on high blood pressure medication, then I recommend doing aspirin. But otherwise, if you're normal and you're not taking any of those, then you don't really need to. Multivitamins. Do you need it?
That's my question.
As long as you're eating healthy food, like you're eating your vegetable and all your other required medication, required food like protein and all this starches, and then you don't really need it. If you're not eating as much anymore, or you're getting always tired, then multivitamins is fine to take.
Is that the fiber bread?
Yeah, if you love bread, also stay away from. If you're diabetic, stay away from white bread. Okay, if you like bread, I'll go for those whole grain. Whole grain is really good for you.
Not multigrain?
Whole grain?
Yeah, multigrain. As long as the green one. I know it's whole wheat is good for you. So between whole wheat and whole grain, it's better to get the whole grain than the whole wheat. Okay? Whole wheat is slightly better than white bread, but if you like bread, always go for the multigrain.
It tastes good, don't use it.
Now, white bread is stay away from bread.
Rye bread. Rye.
Rye is also okay, but if you have a chance, I'd rather go for the whole bread, whole grain. I mean,
Multigrain.
multigrain or multigrain.
Whole grain.
What's your opinion on Ozempic?
Oh, what?
Ozempic.
Ozempic is a popular one. I think in Shoppers Mart, half of our price is mostly Ozempic. Ozempic actually is good. A lot of people are using it for losing weight, right? But also it's good for lowering your sugar. I've seen a lot of my diabetic patient whose their sugar has from 8 it becomes like 6.9 or even 6.5, and at the same time they lost a lot of weight. And a lot of doctors have been using it and recommending it now. And there's Ozempic, there's a lot of new one now. There's Wegovy, there's Mounjaro. There's a lot of new one stuff that coming now, and it's helped a lot. Yeah, a lot of our diabetics have helped a lot. And also I brought one like for people who's on insulin. There's one that you can check. You don't have to prick your finger, because I know pricking your fingers is painful. This one you just scan.
With your phone.
Yeah, but you can even use your phone, and you don't even have to tap it all the time, because if it's, as long as you're near your phone, it reads, tells you a reading. The only thing is with those is it's gonna give you high reading as soon as you just eat. After eating, it's gonna be like 14, and it's gonna keep on ringing, like doing an alarm. I know my dad is keep on. Can you turn off that alarm, because it keep on ringing, because every time he eats, it's like it's annoying. He says. But it's also a good way of testing, because also when your sugar goes too low, then it alarms also. So that's all the thing. Okay, but it's a good way of checking, especially if you're on insulin. It's a good to have, and the only thing is you have to change it every 14 days. But if you're seniors and you're on insulin, it's covered by the seniors plan, so it's good. Okay, and Ozempic is covered by the government's plan too. So it's a good medication, though. Any question?
What about vitamin D?
Vitamin D is good for you because it's good for help with your bones, because especially if you're taking calcium, because vitamin D help get calcium absorbed well in your body. It's also good for preventing colds. A good source of vitamin D is the sunshine. During the summertime, it's really good to go out for a walk and you get your daily dose of vitamin D. But during winter, when you can't go out, then I recommend even doubling up on your vitamin D, like even 2,000 IU of vitamin D during winter, because you hardly see the sun and you hardly go out most of the time. But I do recommend taking it every day.
So 2,000?
2,000 on winter, during the winter.
Already.
Yeah.
Or take a vacation to the sun.
Yeah. Take a vacation and hot sunny day, hot sunny place, then you get all the doses of vitamin D.
For diabetic people, are we allowed to take any vitamins or?
Yeah. For diabetic people, I recommend multivitamins, vitamin B, vitamin C, especially. I have also on the back, I'm not sure if you got vaccination requirement for diabetics. It's always good to have make sure you every year get your flu shot, COVID shot. There's still a lot of variants coming up. It's not totally gone, unfortunately, so there'll be probably a new COVID shot coming soon. It's not available yet, maybe. Okay, but it will be coming soon again. Because as long as they know that there's a lot of new variants coming again, so I recommend that. Shingles shot is also recommended because you don't want to have shingles. Unfortunately, it's not covered by the government. Actually, it's covered if you're 65 to 71. But if you're out of that range, then you have to pay your own.
So how many times do you have the shingle?
This is 2 shots.
Okay.
But if you did you have shingles before or?
I already got my shingle, two shot.
Okay, good.
I have one before, but they said it's
Yeah, it's not
so
as good. Yeah.
So I took 2 shots.
Yeah, good.
And that's it.
That's it. Yeah. That will last you even like 10, 15 years. So it's a good thing to have though. Because you don't want to have shingles.
So good.
Because Vince was so only young, he's only 40s, in his 40s. She got shingles and it was painful. She said it's like somebody like ripping your skin out of you. My brother-in-law, the brother of Gigi, he can't walk for at least 2 weeks because his shingles like up to here, the whole legs. It's so painful. So I know it's expensive, but it's worth the money because you don't want to be having that pain. Because if you have the chicken pox when you were younger, the chances of you having shingles is very, very high, especially for 15, if you're 15 and above. So that's another recommendation. Have your shingles and also have your pneumonia shot. That one is also not covered by the government, but if you have a private insurance, it's recommended. Okay?
Is pneumonia covered by the government?
Which one?
No, the pneumonia shot.
Pneumonia shot. There's one pneumonia shot that's covered that's called Pneumovax, but that's through your doctor. No? But what we recommend is the one that's called the Prevnar 20, and that one is like 180, but it's only one shot though. Unlike the shingles, you need to have 2 shots. Shingles now, shots is cost you around 300 to 400 for the 2 shots. Yeah. And then they also recommended now the RSV. RSV is also not covered, unfortunately. It costs like 100 to 200, especially if you have asthmatic or you have chronic lung disease, then that's recommended. RSV. So always make sure every year to have your flu shot done. Okay? And COVID shot. Oh,
It's time to
better
roll.
go home now.
Thunder.
Thunder. Any other question?
That's information.
Okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.